Today we're going to start our unit on statistics. Alright, the science that deals with the collection, organization, summarization, and interpretation of data is statistics. A group that is representative of a population is a sample. Usually, when they do any type of survey or anything like that, they don't ask everybody. They ask a group of people that represent the entire population. That group is called a sample. A written questionnaire, personal interview, or telephone request for information that can be used when experience, preference, or opinions are sought, that is called a survey. A structured study that usually consists of two groups, one that makes use of the subject of the study and the control group that does not. Comparison of the results for the two groups is used to indicate effectiveness. That type of study is called a controlled study. Again, that's where you have two groups that get the same thing, same type of treatment, only one thing is different between the two groups. The next one, similar to a controlled experiment, except that the researcher does not apply the treatment to the subjects. For example, to determine if a new drug causes cancer, it would be unethical to give the drug to everybody. A researcher observes the occurrence of cancer among groups of people who had previously taken the drug instead. When that happens, usually it is one type of drug, that's called an observational study instead, when you just observe the results and you can't split it up into two groups. When we're dealing with surveys, there's certain things that could affect the outcome of the survey. The wording of the survey questions. We don't want to word it so it sounds like you want them to answer one way or the other. The questions are too vague. Maybe you don't even understand what the question is asking. The way participants are selected, all right, I'm not just going to pick my friends. I have to do it kind of randomly. It's very important, random. Dependent on the respondent's honesty. Well, some of the questions you might be uncomfortable telling the truth and you might lie, and I won't know that. Can be flawed by non-response, which means you just don't answer a question and then I don't know. That could mess up my results. The sample size and representation. I can't choose a sample size that's too small. I can't just pick this class to represent the entire school. And you also wouldn't represent the entire school because this is a class of 10th or 11th graders and not a class that represents the grades 6 through 12. So it says a new medicine intended for use by adults is tested on 5 men whose ages are 22, 24, 25, 27, and 30. Does the sample provide a valid test? No. And there's a lot of reasons you could say no. Oops. The reason it's no is because it's all males. And its use is for adults. Another reason it's bad, all the men are close in age. So the age is too similar. Remember, it's supposed to be used on all adults. Another thing that you could say, they only tested it with 5 men. That's not a lot of people to test it and say it works for everybody. So the sample size is too small. I'm sure you could think of other ones as well, but those are just 3 examples of why this sample could not provide a valid test. Next question. The management of a health club has received complaints about the temperature of the water in the swimming pool. They want to sample 50 of the 200 members in the club to determine if the temperature of the pool should be changed. How should the sample be chosen? Well, the main thing you need to tell me is that it has to be a random sample. I'm not going to pick my friends. That's not random. I'm not going to pick the ones that I think are going to answer the way I want them to answer. That's also not random. A couple ways I could get a random sample of the swimmers is asking maybe the first 50 people to walk in. Maybe I could hand out 50 questionnaires. Maybe I could ask every fourth person on the membership list. There's other ways too, but again, the important piece is that it is random. We have a few multiple choice questions left. I will do one of them and I'll see if you guys can do the other ones here for the do now. Let's see, which one do I want to do? I'll do the first one. Which task is not a component of an observational study? The researcher decides who will make up the sample. The researcher analyzes the data received from the sample. The researcher gathers data from the sample using surveys or taking measurements. The researcher divides the sample into two groups, one group acting as the control. Well, remember this question says which one is not a component. The one that is not a component is choice 4. Choice 4 is an example of a controlled experiment, not an observational study. At this point, I would like you to read the other two multiple choice questions and answer them for your do now.